child is learning disabled, or you know someone who has a child who is, the Norfolk Public School System has a Parent Access Center that actually provides resources, information, workshops for parents of children that require special education. And with me I have Beverly Carter, who is a program, or rather a parent educator for the Norfolk Public Schools Parent Access Center. And that's a mouthful. And it's a relatively new facility across from the Kroc Center.
Correct.
So that's easy to find if you know where that is, and a very nice facility at that, and a very, very welcome place for people to go who are really in need of some support and resources, information, training, to help them and to help their child
Correct.
through school.
Correct.
Welcome.
All right. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
So the idea of having access to information is an invaluable thing for people who have children who may have some disabilities, some learning disabilities. And so what is it you offer?
Okay. To begin with, our program started in the 1980s, the early 1980s, in Northern Virginia. And what happened was there was a parent that was in the special education arena that needed assistance with understanding an IEP, which is an individualized education plan for her child, but she did not understand. So because of that, they developed a program, and they developed a center, which is called a Parent Resource Center. And they provided to that parent information to give them a guide to know what to ask for when they go to an IEP meeting. An IEP meeting is when a parent or anyone in the community that works with the child can see that the child has a need or a learning disability or something of that nature, and they go to the school and they request a meeting in order to have an IEP developed. But this particular parent did not know what to do. So the Parent Resource Centers became an active part of the community in Northern Virginia, and it has migrated to the South. On October the 30th, 2014, we opened our Parent Access Center here, Parent Resource Center, at 3016 Princess Anne Road in Norfolk, Virginia. And what I do there is I get referrals, or sometimes I reach out into the community to the different schools that are within Norfolk Public Schools. And sometimes we do have some referrals from outside schools, and I assist in educating the parents concerning the IEP process. I don't go to IEP meetings with them, but I do have information for them to understand what their rules are and the regulations according to the state laws in Virginia. Each child has a right to a free and appropriate education, okay? We have what we call the Purple Book, and if you come and visit me, I'll be glad to give you one, which is a form of a Bible for the parent so that they can understand just what your child has a right to in the school systems. This is where a lot of parents they lack the knowledge, they lack the knowledge to get what they need for their child.
That can be a bit intimidating, I would imagine.
Yes, it can, but that's why we're here. We have classes that we offer on understanding the IEP process. Recently, we've had one because the parents didn't understand the different sections of the IEP. Within the IEP are certain things that are put in place to assist the child in developing productive learning skills, or to help them to meet their requirement. One thing that we must understand in the special education process is that each child is different. Each child learns differently. A lot of parents don't understand that, and a lot of community organizations or resources don't understand that either. So that's where we're there. We have classes on behavior, we have classes on autism and other disabilities, traumatic brain injury, or it could be cerebral palsy, any type of disability that would affect a child. We have information on that, and what we do is we try to offer classes for the parents to be able to understand how to work with your child. One of the larger workshops that we've been working on recently is autism. because a lot of children and a lot of parents don't know how to communicate effectively to help the child. Okay, so what we've been doing is offering workshops on that. We're having a workshop next week, as a matter of fact, on the 12th, on adaptive PE, teaching your child who may have a disability how to effectively become active active with children when they're outside playing. Okay, let's say playing baseball, football, or whatever. But there are ways that a child can adapt to that. What the parent needs to know is how to help their child to adapt to that. Okay, we're having another one on assistive technology. Assistive technology can be very, very important with the child. Okay, so what we try to do is we try to assist the parent in understanding the technology part of the learning process. Okay.
It's
So
not
we're
stuff
doing
you
that.
always think about, but you're right. These are very
There's a
important
process to that. I'll give you an example. I am the type of person you have to show me.
Okay.
You show me, and that's how I learn. Okay. Some children can just look at something and they learn that way. Okay. But for me, that's not the way that I learn. Well, our children that have disabilities, they have different types also. And that is what we need to understand. How do they learn? And when it comes to technology, how do they learn? Are they better at a computer? Are they better at a laptop or the Kindle or the little game things? How do they learn? What's the best way? So our assistive technology department is going to handle that. Another one that we're going to have next week also is going to be on behaviors. Different disabilities have different behaviors. How do we address the behavior of that child? What is the process? How do I help my child to correct the behavior if the behavior is negative? And then how do I praise my child when he or she does something that is positive? So many times parents with children that have disabilities, they become frustrated and they don't know how to address the issues. Well, we're there. That's part of our job. We have professionals from our Learning Support Division, which is at the School Board Administration building. And if I can't find the answers, I can always make a phone call. We talk about technology, I can get on the computer or just, call up someone that I can be there and we can get them that information.
Well, that must be a huge relief to some parents who really have been not sure about how to navigate the system.
Yes, it has been. I don't know if you heard about our recent newspaper article where we had a parent, as a matter of fact, she was a grandparent who had custody of her child, her grandson, and she was very bewildered when it came to him and his behaviors and other things that were going on with his school. Well, we were able to alleviate that matter for her. And as of right now, the child is progressing. The grandparents' needs have been met, and it became a very positive situation and something that could have been very negative. We find that a lot of times parents are very frustrated, and sometimes they just need a listening ear. I'm that too.
Okay, well, you are a bit of everything, huh?
I'm that too. I always try to have a listening ear. We all need someone at some point in our life. And so therefore, I try to be that listening ear. I'm there from 9 a.m. in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon, Monday through Thursday, and then 9 to 12:30 on Fridays.
Oh, okay.
But I take phone calls sometimes unlimitedly times, I try to be there.
But you do it because it's a good thing to do and it's helpful and you see people get what they need.
I have a heart for it. Yes, I do. This is not a job that you should just take literally. You have to have a heart to do it. You have to be sensitive to the needs of others. But our greatest goal and accomplishment is for the need of the child. Yes. The child is what comes first, regardless to what situation or circumstances come along. To meet the need of the child is the most important thing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It sounds like a wonderful opportunity for parents. I'm glad that we're getting the word out in one more way for people that may not know where to turn, or they maybe just heard about it, but they're not really sure what it's really about.
Right.
You definitely do give it a heart. Thank
You.
you so much for sharing great information, wonderful resource for parents and grandparents
Yes.
who may need someone to help them find the way, for the benefit, of course, of the child, as you said, because the child always comes first.
There you go.
Thank you, Beverly.
And thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next time. Bye.